Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Our headlines today: around 2 million more people in England and Wales face more restrictions as COVID cases continue to rise.
Testing troubles. Boris Johnson admits there aren't enough tests to go round. We'll be live at a testing centre today.
He's already raised millions for charity, but Captain Tom isn't stopping there. He'll tell us about his new foundation to help people with mental health problems.
The foundation is out there to help all sorts of people, where a little bit of hope will do them some good.
Good morning. It's Thursday, the 17th of September. Our top story is that more than 2 million more people across England and Wales will face stricter restrictions. It's an attempt to halt the rise in coronavirus cases, isn't he? He's referring to parties.
Yes, that's right. He was asked about this, given the Home Secretary's comments the other day, who suggested that people should call the police if they see others breaking the law. The Prime
Keep hunting. Back to you both.
Matt, thanks very much. We'll speak to you later and hopefully see some squirrels as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Time now, 12 minutes past 6. That means it's time for us on a Thursday morning. Have a look at today's front pages in the papers.
Are the guinea pigs of Europe for a scheme designed not only to reassure passengers, but also help air travel to recover. And if successful, this could be rolled out to other domestic and international routes.
This morning. We're talking about these further restrictions coming in. We want to also talk about the testing at the moment. I know you've got a situation in your surgery at the moment. One of the members of your staff is waiting for testing. Explain the situation and how this is affecting you.
Mike's right here with us now.
I heard you chuckle at that.
Good morning. Sorry?
I heard you chuckle at that.
Oh, yeah, well, that was very good at this time of day especially. Anyway, we're celebrating the end of a pretty intense, unique, of course, international cricket season for England.
Time now.
That gives me something to do, doesn't it?
Is that right?
So all I could see, I'll have to look at the paper because I saw you holding it up. It's sort of cyclists
It's the cycling
under a cable
Tour de
car.
France. They're getting the cycles are getting a lift in these underneath these pods. I just need to know if it's the cyclists, because we were saying, weren't we, that
Can't be.
Cannot
be them.
Can't be the cyclists.
It's too dangerous.
Can you
Well,
check
I
it
guess
out?
it's one of their team taking the bikes up.
Check it out.
I'll check it out.
Thanks, Mike.
I like a go at that, to be honest. Looks great.
I'd love to go. I'd love to do that. We'll drag Charlie along, eh?
Yeah.
Up for it?
No. Thanks, Mike. 6:41 is the time now. Let's get the weather. So Matt's in Kent for us this morning. On the lookout for endangered species. So take us around. Tell us what you're seeing or not seeing.
Very good morning, Charlie. So that is how your weather is looking. Now, whilst I've been on, I've been watching squirrels run either side of me, Naga and Charlie, but of course, never when you want them. Back to you both.
You need to be more strict with them, Matt.
I tell you what we did spot, actually, Matt. I'm not sure if you were aware, but we didn't see any squirrels. But to your left, there was a human being who popped out momentarily from behind that shed thing, and then I think hid away again. Scared of the cameras, some of those people are, you know?
I know. Very, 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 very timid, these keepers.
We'll try and find a keeper a little later.
Costume for later.
Yes, try and find one and get one out of the foliage, and we'll have a chat with them maybe. Thanks, Matt.
It is 14 minutes to 7, and you're watching Breakfast. Good morning.
Since Captain Sir Tom Moore first appeared on this programme, he's raised £33 million for charity, received a knighthood from the Queen, and even had a #1 single. But the 100-year-old isn't stopping there.
Today, he launches a new charitable foundation. He's continuing in his quest to help other people. What it aims to do is bring people who are dealing with loneliness, as well as those struggling with mental health, together. It's all in memory of his late wife, Pamela. I went to meet him to find out more. I want to talk about how Pamela struggled with mental illness and how you coped with that.
Well, my poor girl, she had, it was, a lot of her problem was her mother. Because in the wartime, her mother was terrified but wouldn't let Pamela be sent away. She insisted that Pamela stayed with her, so that when the bombing was in Gravesend, there was a terrified mother. We didn't help. And when she was going to school, she used to say, "Be careful what you do. I've got somebody watching you on the way to school." he stayed with her for the rest of her life. Her mother had frightened her into always thinking people were following her. But later in her life, she'd have times on the telephone talking to a man who wasn't there. And it just got worse and worse, so that if I went out of the house, I had to lock all the doors and take the keys away. And if there was a gas oven, make sure the gas oven was all turned off. Otherwise, she'd things like they turn the gas on and leave it on. And it got worse and worse until the authorities realised I could no longer look after her properly. And she went into a home, it's a mental home. He said, we're going to take her for 6 weeks to find out. But she stayed for years and years. She never came out again.
You visited her every day?
Yes. I mean, I went to see her every day, day after day, until in the last few years I used to go at lunchtime to feed her because she couldn't feed herself. So for years and years I did that, and I was quite happy. I never resented that for a minute, because after all, I had a contract, hadn't I, of sickness and in health. And so doing that was no hardship. So when she actually died, it wasn't a terrible loss as often people are, because she died in sense. She died years and years before, and that was the end.
And when we talk about the foundation you've set up,
yes,
one of the keys to that foundation is understanding bereavement.
Yes,
and helping people who have lost and giving them hope. Why is that important to you?
Well, see, when Pamela was in the home, I mean, she had me as a visitor, but some people, well, most of the people were ladies. They were really, really poor old things, but nobody ever came to see them. Year in, year out, some never ever had a visitor, and they must have been very lonely indeed. And really, that's one of the things of the foundation, is to help lonely people and people who are in difficulties. Not necessarily old people, but there are some young people who really are not properly looked after. So the foundation is out there to help all sorts of people, where a little bit of hope will do them some good.
There's going to be a film made about you. Who would you like to play you?
Well, it can't be a girl, can it?
No.
No, so I think somebody who could foot the bill would be somebody like David Beckham. I mean, he's got the right build for it, and you know, you've met him, I've met him. He's a very charming young man. Hey, have you got anybody in mind?
Well, he'd have to be very handsome and very charming.
No, I'm not handsome. I might try to be a bit charming, but...
Well, I think you're lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
The privilege of being able to sit here with you and have a short amount of time to talk about your life and the impact you're having, something I will never forget.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you know what he did there? He then turned around and thanked our 2 camera people and our producer as well. So, and he was so determined that the reason I was wearing a shawl is because he thought I looked cold, so he insisted I put the shawl on.
Because obviously a lovely sunny day,
but we were sitting in the shade.
Yeah,
for camera purposes. He was so lovely, so kind. And we're going to have more of that interview run a little later on, about 8:45. So I could have spoken to him for hours, all day.